Welcome to week 3 of Candidate Voices with 5051 Savannah, the series that brings you 5-minute interviews with candidates for Georgia's 1st Congressional District U.S. House election 2026. We welcome any candidates running for this office who meet our mission of upholding the Constitution and ending executive overreach to participate. Each of our candidates receive the same question in advance and are allowed to prepare. This is Robin with 5051 Savannah, here with our 4th week of Candidate Voices. I'm here with Joey Palimeno. Good to see you, Joey.
Very nice to see you.
Here's the question this week. The Folkston ICE Processing Center has drawn criticism for human rights violations and lack of oversight. What is your position on the expansion of private immigration facilities in Georgia, and how should immigration enforcement be handled in a way that reflects constitutional values and local impact?
Me personally, I'm against it, especially because it's for profit, and that turns to put, of course, profit and charities before people, which leads to terrible care. In my eyes, Congress needs to step in. I mean, we haven't really had major bipartisan immigration reform in like nearly 40 years. The system to me seems very outdated, punitive, and it fails to address both the labor needs and the humanitarian responsibilities you got to address. So I do think Congress needs to come together and pass a bill. Unfortunately, the Republican Party did tank it, but that's another talk. And my position is, modern reform. You got to include a pathway to citizenship for long-term residents, humane border and detention policies, protection for the dreamers, farm workers, asylum seekers, and most importantly, an end to private for-profit detention centers. The facility is operated by a company called the GEO Group. They've reported over $200 billion in revenue. Like I was saying, I was just funny. I just saw them on posting jobs recently on Indeed in our community today. And you'd think with $2 billion, they'd be paying, local residents well, but they're offering like $17 an hour, which is not, I know for a fact, it's not enough to live in my area. So it's crazy that you've gotten that much money poured into you and, you're still offering small, not only you have multiple human rights violations, but you're also paying your workers very low. But federal inspectors at that facility before this expansion have found a long list of violations, from hunger strikes, being held in solitary confinement, Catholic and Muslim detainees denied access to chaplains, medical staff acting beyond safe limits in ways that contribute to the death of an Indian national, actually. And yet, instead of addressing these abuses, we're again expanding the model, which I'm firmly opposed to. I think there's a much more humane way we can go about this. I do think immigration is an issue we need to address, but I would rather it come from Congress. There's too much whiplash going on. I mean, with when the executive branch touches something, like everything Trump's going to do now, it's just going to get, a Democrat comes in office, a Republican comes in office, whatever they think, whatever it may be, they can just undo it. It's all executive order. I like laws. I mean, I do think the executive branch plays an important role, but Congress hasn't, just because they're not able to work too much together, they've let the executive branch go way too far. And we see that, of course, with Trump. He's just testing all of his boundaries, our Constitution, and it's not good for our community at all, especially when you're denied due process, which is something that is guaranteed under our Constitution. It's not right to me, and it feels like it kind of feels like living in a police state a bit lately, if that makes sense. I mean, I've been driving around and I see Department of Homeland security vehicles all over my community, and I've lived down here for almost 10 plus years now, and I've never seen this before. It's something new to me. It's pretty shocking, and I hope with this election, coming in 2026, that Congress is able to come together, pass some laws, and of course, hold the administration accountable, because there's really no transparency in it as well. We don't even know what they're doing, and a lot of the arrests that I see, they of course act like they're going to target criminals, but mainly they're not. They're targeting regular folks based upon, do you have a tattoo that looks like this or like that? So it's kind of nerve wracking. I see that from the community, from people that I talk to, that they're scared. I've worked with folks, who are Hispanic and whatnot, and have literally walked around with their birth certificate in their pocket, and I sense their fear, and it's something that I want to protect. I can't can't imagine living with that constant fear over my head of, am I going to be deported? Is my family going to be deported? Am I going to be held up for nothing? People get stopped at a traffic stop nowadays and they're ending up in ICE detention center. I've seen multiple things too with, I voted for Trump, but my wife is getting deported now or she's in ICE. I mean, I just think there's such a better way, and this administration is going about it in a crazy manner. Especially you see all these masked up ICE agents, which there's a plus and a minus too. But again, there's no transparency at all in the situation. And again, Congress needs to address it and hold the executive branch accountable, give them transparency, oversight, and then pass some immigration reform. And we had a great bill. It, it, it was a compromise, Republican written bill, but Republicans tanked it over election reasons. So I'm sick of these issues being used, for too often to win an election. It's just it's not right, because then people suffer, whether that be immigrants, whether it be working class folks like myself. And also, like I said, it kind of feels like some of these culture issues I feel like also are thrown at us as a distraction to realize, hey, I'm giving trillions of dollars of taxes to the rich, but let's go blame immigrants and I'm gonna take away your health care at the same time. It's very frustrating to me, and I plan to fight it very, 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 very hard and stand up against it. And yeah, hopefully, I grow more after I talk to folks every day. I do grow a bit more hopeful. I've seen young folks very engaged, which is nice, because I feel like my generation was politics, especially after the last election. I do have a lot of hope.